After transformation, Mine and Her Wild Fantasy Book 1, Chapter 21. The shocking test results. Down. Rings after rings of silvery white symbols circled around the element bead, and if one listened closely, faint sounds of the holy hymn can be heard coming out from within the bead, and all this was directly caused by Lunaria. Holy light, holy hymn, lasting and never fading, as if heralding the birth of a great being. Such was the magnificence that even Sir Lougeri was stupefied by the scene. Is this the legendary light element affinity surpassing 90%? The body of holy light? Sir Lougeri ecstatically confirmed his guess without needing Mina to confirm it. It could clearly be seen with just the naked eye, in the least 50% brighter than the other light physiques that he has seen before, also possessing holy light but without the holy hymn appearing, as well as Lunaria's degree of shock being worlds apart, followed by a roar from an elderly man who has been restraining his emotions for 100 years. Of course, it was a joyous occasion which caused it to be necessary to show one's emotion. The temporary loss of refined dignity by Sir Lougeri did not arouse Mina and Lee's attention, because their brains had already turned into an empty void, so much so that their souls were blown cloud-high by the soul-hooking hymn coming from the element bead. Lunaria, on the other hand, only shrugged her shoulders at the scene. She already had a grasp of what the body of holy light was from what Sir Kaming had told her earlier, only, because of the careless manner that he had described it, she really did not think much of it. But, after seeing these people's reactions, she started to truly understand just how powerful this physique might be, especially after seeing the usually calm and dignified Lougeri turn into the rabid salivating mad dog at the sight. I Lougeri hope God, I am actually seeing the legendary body of holy light. This is the most sacred out of all physiques. This must be a sign from the supreme God. Heavens, I can die right here right now without a single regret now. Wow, this statement is somewhat exaggerated, right? Lunaria stood at the side with an honest face, looking at the other three, who had totally different expressions. Lunaria tried to do her best to look like an innocent bystander, even though all this was caused by her. 10 minutes passed. Lougeri finally calmed down, once again, and looked at Lunaria, although much calmer than before, but he could not hide the glistening in his eyes despite his best efforts. Teacher? Lunaria called out probingly. Lougeri suddenly cracked a smile, making his face wrinkle into the semblance of a chrysanthemum flower, and said with an extremely warm and soft voice, giving Lunaria cold shivers. What is it, Lunaria? No, it should be me asking you what's wrong. Is this really the silent strong figure leaking power that I used to know? Lunaria scratched her head, and asked, Teacher, aren't we supposed to finish testing the big 8 elements first? How could she waste her time standing here and play along this comedy, especially since she was battling 3 magic beasts right now as Tyre? Good thing the beasts were kind of weak, except for the start, where she was a little nervous to take on the first beast. She killed the other 2 with 1 slash each after her nerves settled down. No wait, 1 branch wave per beast. It is. Sir Lougeri nodded his head, but Lunaria had a feeling that the old man was still in fantasy land. Elementalist Mina, please continue testing Lunaria for her affinity with the last 2 higher elements. Elementalist Mina? Lougeri called a second time, but still no response. He looked over only to find Mina's eyes staring off into space, as if gazing off into the distance, causing Lougeri to raise an eyebrow. This little girl, is she having a moment of enlightenment? I did not expect that the body of holy light with the holy hymn can actually allow a high-level elementalist to gain a flash of insight. No, it should be that she possesses a high level of comprehension, or else even if she once again heard the hymn again for a number of times it would have no effect. The element hall now has a good young sapling to be a successor. Wow, Lunaria-chan, just a moment ago I thought I saw heaven. I was scared to death thinking that I died. Leah patted her rather lofty chest with a look of slight fear. But I didn't see anything different. Lunaria repeatedly blinked while looking at the elemental ball, then once again looking at Lougeri. This elderly person at this moment apparently was in an extremely good mood. almost to the point of answering any questions flying his way. The appearance of the holy hymn definitely has a connection with your body of holy light. It is not too extravagant to call the two as one, with the elemental ball acting as an intermediary. As a result, you yourself, not relying on external objects, can't see or hear the holy hymn, but others can. So it's like this. There is nothing to be done about it. Since Mina is trying to comprehend her insight, I will personally operate the final 2 tests for you. Okay, sorry for the inconvenience, teacher. Only a trivial matter, though. Outside of everyone's expectations, Lunaria only had 40% affinity with the dark element and a big glaring 0% with the space element. This caused the overly excited old man to become slightly depressed after his excitement wore off. After all, space was the leading element for the 8 big elements, and have no opposing element that can counter it, giving it a very wide range of use, and is the element that every high-ranking magician must learn. Although after reaching mid and high ranks, the affinity with the other elements will increase with the magician's rank, but that 0% affinity means even after increase, learning space element magic will be 100x harder than other people. This can't be possible, reasonably, with all the other elemental affinities so high. Space elemental affinity should also be high. Leah grumbled under her breath non-stop. Her cute yet angry look caused Lunaria to squeeze out a helpless smile. I feel that we should just be content with what we have. According to Lao Jerry's words, there have never been anyone like Lunaria recorded in all of history, and even if there were, then that person would have been hid like a secret weapon by the entire empire. Because why would you give your enemies such an enticing target to eliminate? As long as your opponent have any brains, they will try their utmost with everything they have to eliminate that kind of person. Because once they grow up, their power would be beyond their imagination, so that kind of genius must be killed before they can get strong. Book 1, Chapter 22 The Plotting Old-Timers. When Mina woke up, 3 hours had already passed. A special feeling of some change can be felt coming from this white-robed elementalist by Lunaria and the others. Sir Lao Jerry's conclusion was that Mina could try and apply for the magic instructor rank at the Magicians Association branch in the Dukedom. A magic instructor of less than 25 years old. A piece of big news like this could only be surpassed by Sir Lao Jerry personally terminating a 100k gold bounty. A huge shocking news. But Mina gave a very heartfelt thanks to Lunaria, and was even willing to follow Lunaria around as her personal tutor. A high and mighty magic instructor becoming a mere personal tutor. This kind of situation would be something that even normal kingdoms wouldn't easily accept, other than special situations for high royal princes or some extremely talented genius. Of course, Lunaria fell right into the extremely talented genius category. No, it should be said that those so-called geniuses would only be worth a dog's fart compared to her. If any of the empires caught wind of a person with 3 different physiques in existence, they would probably immediately send over sacred magicians over to personally instruct that person, or if they are really invested, they would probably invite a deity over as a teacher. Every empire naturally had deities sitting guard. After all, these empires have existed for countless years, and in that time, some super-rare genius would comprehend the mysteries and become a deity, and some of those deities rather stay behind than ascend into the realm of deities. The final result, however, was Sir Lao Jerry personally instructing Lunaria. Although Mina could be counted as a magic instructor, but teaching a genius like Lunaria was still far beyond her scope. In addition, there was still a huge potential for growth for Mina, and she should not be wasting her time and her future instructing Lunaria when there is Sir Lao Jerry around. Sir Lao Jerry gave the elemental hall master a few words, telling him to give more assistance to Mina, and allow Mina to use more of the hall's resources. If luck fortunes them, the Duke's mansion will most likely have another sacred magician in the near future. Of course, the most important thing was making sure that Leah and Mina would keep Lunaria's secret. The abnormal levels of Lunaria's affinity with the elements must never reach the ears of enemy nations. No matter who, be it a powerful kingdom or even an empire, as long as they willed it, They could forcefully take away Lunaria under the reasons of a draft for human resources, and this was not something that Sir Loud Jerry wanted to see. That night, this old man called up Felices and a few other old-timers for a meet-up. Felices summed up the contents of that meet-up with one sentence: "No one is going to steal this piece of meat away." All the old-timers nodded to show their appreciation at this straightforward yet vulgar to the extremist statement. They even went on to praising Claude for picking up this piece of treasure again and again. Of course, the subject of their talk, Claude, had no clue to all of this as he was asleep in his room, far away from this secret gathering. The most important part is how to restrain this piece of meat. One of the old-timers raised his voice, but Sir Loud Jerry humphed in reply. "And my master-disciple relation is not enough?" "Not enough." A young girl next to Sir Loud Jerry shook her head yet replied with a mature tone. "Did you forget that incident from back then?" "That was my blunder. This time I will definitely not let that happen again." Sir Loud Jerry seemed to be traumatized by a simple remark from the young girl, and his original confident tone became frail. The young girl squinted her eyes slightly and gave a small sigh. "Never mind, let it go." "I'm sorry for bringing that up, but you old thing, your age is bigger than all of us added up together. How come your spirit is so fragile?" "Right, little Felices Tilda." The randomly pulled in, innocent Felices immediately had a head full of black lines. "Older sister, I feel that your skill of mouth blabbing has reached a new level lately." Even though Sir Loud Jerry is not speaking, but he is still an elder. "Cuckoo, I remember in the past a certain girl called Nicole would cling on Master Sir Loud Jerry's legs all day and told everyone that she would become his bride. Ugh, how I miss that naive and innocent little Nicole." "Shut up, you perverted Lilican." Nicole angrily glared at a certain sloppy uncle who was blabbing his mouth off, revealing her dark history, becoming more angry as she thought about it more. This guy was a famous Lilican, although that guy had achieved their Phoenix level a long time ago. All he does is wander around the Duke's mansion. When he sees a little girl, those eyes of his would literally shine with light, impossible to miss. Good thing the ground caretakers are morally intact and did their duty properly, notifying Nicole every time this guy acts up so she could stop him. T/L, uncle isn't pointing to an uncle in the traditional sense, rather a slang pointing to someone who is male and are not safe to be around. Sp for children and girls. Imagine Jiraiya from Naruto. This could only be blamed on the avant-garde information from the Magic Picture Stone broadcasting. The old-fashioned Nicola stuck in her old-era ways completely does not understand the meaning of cuteness. Is justice, Lilican, Imperial Siscon and such terms. She only knew that this big uncle was called by the nickname Emperor of Lilicans from several years ago by other people, so Nicola followed along and called him a Lilican. If she knew what Lilican meant, her moral integrity would probably shatter all over the floor. The old-timer who started all this by mentioning how to restrain Lunaria, this piece of meat, observed all of this bickering on the side with mirth to spare. "I think, love makes the best chains." This remark made all the old-timers' eyes light up. All of them looked towards Felices with looks of silent agreement. This handsome and mature man seemed to predict this result from the start, and slightly smiled at their gazes. The old-timers all started chuckling with a dark aura surrounding that meeting room. Cuckoo-fu-fu-fu-oh-ho-ho and various other sounds could be heard from that place, causing the guards who were near the room to have cold shivers run up their back. That night, Lunaria felt her back creeping with cold shivers, causing her not able to sleep well for the entire night. In the Great Forest, Gabriel Continent's biggest forest, with its borders running parallel with all the three great empires, and its area big enough to contain several tens of kingdoms with room to spare. In a forest like this, terrifying monstrosities were everywhere, both hidden and in the open, countless magic beasts and countless species and races of creatures, in addition to the countless criminals who use this forest as a hiding place from authorities, makes this forest the #1 most dangerous place. And it is here that adventurers call the Forest of Danger. On the edges of the Great Forest, at this moment, a youth wearing rags currently sat on a small pile of grass, and poked at a burning pile of branches in front of him with a small stick in his hand. Suddenly, A huge roar sounded from nearby. That was a sound of a magic beast announcing its attack towards its prey. Such was the power of the roar that even a person with greater than average courage would falter and lose his decision-making ability, and that slight moment of hesitation would be the end of his life. The magic beast was the same in appearance as that of a gigantic bear, and its 4-meter-tall body held enough strength to pulverize a normal tree to shreds. It was certain that as soon as it can touch that human, then its dinner from the night was secured. But to its surprise, the originally small and skinny food became a huge and furry thing. This made it suspect that the prey was same as itself but pretending to be a human. Only when its head struck the ground did it finally know that the huge and furry thing was itself. It was confused, because what killed him wasn't some sharp metal weapon, but a commonly seen type of tree branch in the forest. Just as the terror of realization hit it, blackness engulfed its consciousness, and death overtook it. Book 1, Chapter 23. Hitching a Ride. Tyre threw away the branch in his hands and wiped the sweat on his forehead. Looking at the bear with its head facing itself, he let out a long and deep sigh. Finally, my dinner for tonight has shown up at last. This brave bear is the only one so far to rush at me with such bravery. The first this brave that I've seen in 5 days while wandering in this damned forest. In order to thank this brave bear for sending me a meal, I will try my best to eat you. Tyre said superficially, then took out a razor-sharp tooth hanging from his waist and started to cut the meat. This tooth came from a lion-like magic beast that he met from 3 days ago. The thing's teeth was so sharp, that no matter what went in its mouth, be it stone or wood, it would be crunched into dust. At the time, Tyre had to spend a huge effort before killing it, and this single razor-sharp tooth that can cut apart pretty much everything he found, naturally became his loot, and it is because he has this tooth, all the hunting from later on became much more convenient. The roasted meat had an obvious gamey smell to it, but the texture was quite nice. The only worry that Tyre had was accidentally killing and eating some magic beast that was poisonous. At that point, it'll be too late to even cry. From the map, Miliac Kingdom should be just ahead, but there is no way to tell with these many forest trails here. I can't believe this simple 1-2-day trip is taking me these many days. I don't even know how long it'll be before I can get out of here. Yeah, I really want to be like Lunaria right now and be relaxing in a warm bath. Tyre patted his full stomach and laid his back against a tree. He had the expression of someone with everything perfect but with only one small defect. Though, speaking of taking baths, when he first saw Lunaria's body, he really didn't know where to start touching first, but because it was also his own body, when compared to the naked body of Leah, he wasn't half as excited, at least not to the point of having a nosebleed. This was a small piece of good luck in all this bad luck. Otherwise what difference would he have from a weird narcissistic pervert who bleeds at the sight of his own body? Just as Tyre was having wild thoughts and was about to find a hollow tree to sleep in, the ground below suddenly had a tremor run through. This is. Tyre's brows raised as he hugged his ears to the ground to listen. What came into his hearing was the sounds of magic beasts roaring and humans shouting mixed with cries of pain. People, although he didn't know what the situation was, but since there was people, it was worth a look, and if all goes south, he could just turn around and run away. Not that Tyre was boasting, because the body technique 1000 bends that Kaming had taught him was so strange that even though Tyre can only manage one bend, but it was still enough to escape from a great many of the magic beasts in the great forest. He was confident when it comes to escaping. How would he have known that Kaming taught him this with the expectation that he will use this as an attacking method against enemies? If the big crab knew that he was using this sacred technique to escape from enemies instead, the crab would probably have an expression that was half crying and half laughing. After he had learned Du Chi and broken through to initial stages of low-level Chi harmony, Tyre felt that his own foot strength and speed has become much stronger and faster than before. The magic beasts that he initially had some trouble dealing with were now being exterminated by him with ease, just like that big bear from just then. If he had met with it on the first day, he would have ran as far as possible. Though, Tyre did not know that a huge gap in strength existed between non-martial artist and magic beasts. If other people knew that Tyre was able to defeat magic beasts relying on only martial skills and body techniques, there would definitely be a new headline for breaking news. A moment later, Tyre stopped in the middle of a cluster of trees. He laid flat on the ground and looked below him, and there was a road beneath the higher ground that Tyre was at. The road was man-made and there was over 20 meters between where Tyre was hidden and the road, a very safe distance for the height difference. If everyone was at the same level of elevation, Tyre would have probably chosen to stop 50 meters back instead of 20. At the moment, on the road below Tyre, there was a huge slaughter fest in motion. 10 terrifying magic beasts surrounded a caravan group of over 100 meters long. Caravan groups of this size was shown on the Magic Picture Stone broadcast before, and they were people who made a profit off of the price difference in between kingdoms. After all, the pricing between different places will always have some difference, and as long as that difference was high enough of a profit, there will always be merchants who are willing to risk going to the Great Forest to make the journey. Caravan groups being attacked is not a rare sight, and the scene in front of Tyre is a great example. Although this group did employ a mercenary group, the end results were still not too great, as the actual strength of this 20-man mercenary group was very average and the attack of several uncoordinated magic beasts was enough to beat them to the point of no resistance. Tyre shook his head. He did not want to be bothered with that many magic beasts, and after all, there was no benefit to speak of if he did lend a hand. Merchants with gratitude. I will have to politely decline that offer, thank you very much. Also from the lifestyle of Lunaria over at the Duke's mansion, Tyre had absolutely no idea of the value of gold as he has not even touched any during his stay. So after considering everything, Tyre decided that it was in his best interest to go find a place to sleep for the night instead. Just as Tyre decided to retreat, a strong man, obviously the leader of the group, cried out from the mercenary group below. Jake, little Kobe, Leia, you geese take the merchants and go. We will catch up after we drive away these magic beasts. The captain's lies obviously didn't fool anyone, and a skinny boy that was just called by name answered with a hoarse voice. No, we want to live and die with the captain. Did you not say that the girls in the Miliac Kingdom was all pretty and cute, and you said you would take us for a go with them? How can you go back on your words, Captain? Damn it, Jake. Can you not see that if us old guys can't block these magic beasts, the merchant caravan will also perish? Don't shame the honor of the Sand Fox mercenary group. Hurry up and go. Captain. Jake, little Kobe, Leia and a few other people all shouted with their eyes red. They did not want to leave like this because they knew that this would be their last farewell. Go. The captain's shout disappeared under a single deathly pale white light. Right afterwards, a magic beast sprayed out blood and cried out in pain. When the captain was able to clearly see the person who came from the sky, the person had already started to move again, with an expression as calm and solid as a mountain, yet with movements as fast and decisive as lightning. That speed let the captain who had already fallen under despair saw a ray of hope. Swoosh! Yet another magic beast screamed out in pain and sprayed blood in front of this person as if the magic beast was just a decoration, becoming fertilizer in an instant. The originally bloody fighting scene became still and quiet. The only thing still moving was the person flicking a tree branch in his hands. Wait, tree branch? The captain suspected that his eyes had problems, or maybe he could not see Mount Tai, because the white object that was cutting through the magic beasts like a hot knife through butter was actually a commonly seen tree branch. Can there be anything more doubtful than his eyes were going haywire? But just as he had this line of thought, the person drenched in blood spoke. Big brothers, can you all let this little brother hitch a ride? Book 1, Chapter 24 Mercenary License. The captain straight up blanked out, even though he has seen many strong youths, but youth like this one in front of him, like ones these modest was really a rare sight. They retreated. The mercenary group members behind the captain just now reacted, and followed up immediately with loud cheering, the type that only comes after surviving an ordeal. But the merchants was not half as cheerful as the mercenaries as they looked towards this stranger with eyes of anxiousness. After all, the Great Forest did not lack in bandits, and when compared to the voracious magic beasts, Bandits who love to play with their targets slowly presented an even bigger problem for the merchants. Adding to the fact that magic beasts only wanted to eat their fill for the day before leaving the group alone, and the fact that bandits will want to take everything away, most merchants dreaded the bandits even more. Wow, that guy was really strong. He took out 2 level 2 magic beasts with just 2 swings of his sword. Clay, watch your mouth. Who are you calling that guy? It's Sir. But just what weapon was that? I didn't see it clearly from start to finish. The captain, naturally not like the other members, did not completely stop thinking, and the first thing he did was to reassure the merchants behind them that this respectable sir was not a bandit and calmed their fears before making preparations to continue their trip to Miliak. After taking care of all that, the captain finally came to stand next to the person and slightly bowed. This lowly one is called Jack Timry, a branch captain for the Sand Fox mercenary group. Many thanks for the help earlier. How should I address you, sir? Tyre. Say, is this caravan headed for the Miliak Kingdom? Yes. Just nice. Bring me along, would you? Take it as my reward for the help earlier. Naturally. But simply this, it can't be considered as a reward. So troublesome. Right, why don't you tell me some information regarding Miliak Kingdom? Of course, but this is still not enough as thanks. Sir Tyre, why don't we give you half of the remuneration from our mission? How's that sound? I'm fine with anything, but to think that I've asked you politely just now, and yet the only thing you all have done so far is to completely ignore me and chat with each other. Ahaha, Sir Tyre, we can't help it. After all, anyone who experienced this kind of life and death situation managed to come out alive would also be ecstatic. Jack waved his hand and continued speaking. Sir Tyre, you seem very young. Did you register at the mercenary division and get a mercenary license? Mercenary license? What is that? Does Sir Tyre not even know this? Right now the mercenary headquarters is considered as the most powerful force. As long as one was practiced martial arts, they would surely register for a mercenary license. Although the mercenaries did not have a common goal in mind, unlike the other family powers, they will respond immediately and appropriately to situations. Even the empires are not willing to offend the mercenary headquarters. So powerful. Tyre is shocked. Doesn't this mean that Claude and Sir Lao Jerry had all registered for a mercenary license before? Considering the total forces of the mercenary headquarters, although the mercenaries could not be ordered to accomplish tasks, in the face of an emergency, their power will instantly overwhelm the forces of many kingdoms. Editor, was gonna change Lao, greater than old since it sounds better and not just phonetics. Then I realized how bad Sir Old Jerry would sound, who is not fearful of such a strong force, especially the fact that there are many subdivisions of the mercenary headquarters situated in countless empires. Their influence was extremely vast, and perhaps only the Crimson Shroud Warrior Hall and the Magicians Association could rival them. Well, Sir Tyre, there are many things that I can't go into details right now. Why not wait till we enter Miliak Kingdom, then I'll slowly explain everything to Sir N. Sure, as long as we leave this darned forest, other things can be discussed later. Tyre was sick and tired of the place. Meeting magic beasts every day, having to hide when sleeping, his body reeking of stench, these are merely some reasons to why Tyre hates this forest. Jack helplessly smiled. As long as this strong person is not some strange moody weirdo, anything is fine. He does not want to be killed by this strong person just for saying something wrong, especially when he has just escaped from the claws of some magic beasts. In history, this has actually happened before. The most ridiculous case was when a prince of some duchy accidentally offended an anonymous expert, and that expert was either having his aunties over or he acted on a whim. But the whole duchy had disappeared within a night's time. That incident caused an uproar, but what is more comical was that the Imperial Sicily Empire kept quiet about it, not daring to even let out a fart. Editor, you either understand it or you're going to Google it. Jack chatted with Tyre for a while before roughly guessing the kind of person Tyre is. In sum, Tyre is mentally sound, but the rest remains unknown. Yes, unknown. For every word that Jack mentioned, Tyre would always ask for an explanation, as though he was a kid desperately seeking knowledge. But Jack could only patiently reply, this sort of mysterious expert was not someone that he could investigate into. This proves a famous saying from the ancient Vermilion Emperor, curiosity killed the cat. He did not want to be that cat. Book 1, Chapter 25 Slave Shop. The Miliac Kingdom is one of the lowest ranked kingdoms in the Sicily Empire, but because it produces magic stones and honors martial fighting, the kingdom is still very lively and not any less popular when compared to the other kingdoms. When Tyre entered the city with the others, night has already passed by and the morning sun was rising. The citizens of Miliac was bustling with activity on the streets. Sir Tyre, this is Hess City, located on the northern part of Miliac Kingdom, and our mission was to guard the merchants to here, Jack said with respect, and got back a look full of expectation from Tyre. Say, Sir Jack, is there some sort of hotel around here? There is a pretty decent hotel just opposite the mercenary branch group, and most of the mercenaries would gather there, so it's like this. Then let's go there. After going around in the forest for so many days, I bet I can scare the magic beasts away just from my smell alone. Tyre sniffed the weird odor from his body, and decided that he was going to have a nice and long bath. But Jack, on the other hand, was thinking of the fact that Tyre had came out of the dangerous Great Forest. What's more, despite the ragged clothing that Tyre wore, there was not a single scratch mark on his skin underneath. Just how terrifyingly powerful is this guy? Jack was sure that to be able to wander around the edges of the Great Forest without a single injury, one must have at least the level of Army Breaker. Even upper Chi Harmony individuals can't say that they can stroll around the edges with confidence. Of course, if Sir Tyre was Heavenly Son, then that's even more terrifying. But there was no need to guess which, because all of them are far beyond his strength to reach, so Jack decided to just concentrate on getting on even better terms with this powerful individual, and leave a good impression. Who knows, he might even get some unexpected benefit from this. Oh yes, Sir Tyre, since it is right there, why not go register for a mercenary ID? It is very convenient to have one around these parts. Convenient? How is it convenient? Such as using contribution points to trade for precious treasures, or purchase materials that are not available on the market from the mercenary group. And if your contribution was high enough, you can even request for a Phoenix level or sacred magic instructor powerhouse to come and teach you. Is there more? Of course. There is also information, and massive amounts of wealth available for taking down bounties with massive rewards. Wait, did you say information? Yes. Is there any problem? Tyre squinted his eyes, and thought of the fact that he was just in need of information. After all, if he asked too much as Lunaria in the mansion, he would definitely get suspicions, but that's an entirely different story if he asked as Tyre, being free to do whatever he wants. So there was no misgivings. Right, I actually do need to go and investigate some things. Then Sir Tyre, you mean take me there? Yes. Jack was overjoyed at the unexpected find, because if they had just parted right there, then the chances of them meeting again would be very slim, but if he brought Tyre to the mercenary group, then they would be colleagues in name, then the chances of getting on Tyre's good side would increase a lot. Sir Tyre, if you want to join a mercenary group after registering for an ID, I can personally take you meet our Sand Fox mercenary group's boss. I believe he will definitely give you a high position. Let's talk about this later. Yes, even though he was politely declined, but Jack was not surprised. After all, the strongest individual in Sand Fox mercenary group, their guardian, was just a person at the level of Heavenly Son. So powerhouses like Tyre would naturally preserve some haughtiness, and would probably select to join super mercenary groups like Amaterasu Mercenary Group or Tigris Mercenary Group, because these are the groups that powerful individuals aim for. Hess City wasn't too big in Miliac Kingdom, but to merchants, it was a very popular city to visit, so the volume of trade that goes on in this city can claim to be the highest. The myriad of different color and styles of clothing passing by on the streets made Tyre's eye soar as he watched. With different cultures in different kingdoms, It is natural to see a great mixture of all sorts in a city where tons of people gather from different places, especially a place like Hesse, where the traffic of people can make the top 100 list in the entire Sicily Empire. Any normal person would go dizzy at the first sight of such a place. Suddenly, Tyre stopped his steps, and after Jack felt that the person behind him wasn't following anymore, immediately turned around and asked, "Sir Tyre, what's wrong?" This Tyre pointed to a structure on the side of the big street, and there were black iron cages of many different sizes, with sounds of miserable shrieking coming out of them, and shadows of raggedly dressed people can be seen huddled in them. "Ah, this is a slave shop." Jack was not very surprised at Tyre's question, and explained with a matter-of-course tone. "These are some escaped criminals, fugitives from the law, or relatives of people with great crimes, or the captives from a nation defeated in war. There are so many of them, and because it is a waste just to kill them, so the empire constructed a slave system, to give these people some value." "Value? This is kind of a broad topic. For example, sir, don't you think that the strong and well-built slaves would have a great value as a laborer? And powerful slaves can be front-line cannon fodder, and the beautiful girls, their uses are even more broad, and the potentials for kids are very broad too. There are a lot of uses in general, it all depends on what sir can think up. So it's like this." Tyre nodded his head as in enlightened, then pointed to a pretty girl huddled in one of the cages alone and asked, "Then what is this, with ears that pointy? Is she still a human?" "No, that is an elf. Should be a wind elf." "Elf? Are you talking about the Saint-Chelsea's empire?" "Yes." Jack silently let out a breath, thanking the gods that Tyre at least had that much common knowledge. He had thought that he would have to start his explanation from the start of the great shattering from 1,000,000 years ago. Tyre knew that this was a slave shop. After all, he didn't watch the Magic Picture Stone broadcasts for nothing. It was just that he was kind of interested by the elven girl. Only a passing interest, because he did not have this kind of money or this kind of a heart to go buy her, and even after he bought her, then what? Tyre considered this question deeply for a brief moment before his normally thick-skinned face flushed bright red. Seems there was actually something that he could do. Book 1, Chapter 26. Previous chapter. Translator, Kuro Neko. Editor, Jerry DeBoers. Credits to Sproutling from New for helping us with some sentences. Next chapter of ATF is 50% done. Leave a comment to motivate Kuronko to finish translating it. Enjoy. Jerry. Chapter 26. Mercenary nickname. The elf at the slave shop was just a minor detour. Not long after, Jack brought Tyre to the mercenary division. "Sir, the hotel is just up ahead. Do you want to rest first, or would you like to go and take a look at the mercenary division?" "Let's take care of the troublesome stuff first." "Okay. Please follow me." Jack respectfully brought Tyre to the mercenary division. This mercenary division seemed to be at least 10 stories high. The first floor that Tyre had entered was a great hall that was around 3 stories high. The clean and smooth floors had a faint reflection of oneself, causing Tyre to think inappropriately, what if women wore skirts in here? Wouldn't they be exposed? Better not to think about this sort of stuff. Tyre felt that his thoughts were problematic. It seemed as though he only thought of this kind of stuff. It was not a good sign. If someone were to discover it, everyone would see him as a pervert. There was another thing that made Tyre concerned. Most of the people were wearing the same type of black robes, and some people even covered their whole heads with the black hoods of their robes, looking very suspicious. "Oh, isn't this Jack? Where did those youngsters of yours go?" "Hey, don't mention it. This time we were so unlucky and met tens of level 2 magic beasts, we almost couldn't make it back," Jack said while looking at his good friend, the bald fellow who was standing opposite of him. He was still afraid as he thought of what had happened earlier. "Luckily, this kind sir stepped out to help. If not, me and my brothers would have lost our lives in the forest." "Oh?" The bald fellow threw a curious glance towards Tyre. Tyre merely smiled back. This caused the bald fellow to have a better impression of Tyre. So young." "Hello, I am Deacon on duty this week. My name is Harriet Jones." "Jack, what did you bring this sir here for?" "Sir Tyre wants to register for a mercenary license, and he also wanted to inquire some information. So it's like this. However, it is strange that such a strong expert like Sir Tyre had actually never registered for a mercenary license before. Don't tell me he wants to register a sock puppet? Internet slang, it's called sock puppet, meaning the auxiliary accounts, referring to the usual practice of cyberforum participants maintaining multiple accounts so that his or her posts can be bumped up or appeared as if well received. Explanation courtesy of Sproutling from New. Harriet was just making guesses out of curiosity, but Tyre was put in a difficult situation. What are they saying? What is a week? What is a deacon on duty? What is a sock puppet? The more he heard, the more confused he got. Jack seemed to have noticed Tyre's distress and immediately spoke out. Harriet, it's better to just help Sir Tyre with the procedures. We can talk about other stuff later. Okay then. But even though you said Sir Tyre has the ability to kill tens of level 2 magic beasts, he still needs to start as a junior mercenary. This is an unwritten rule. I hope Sir Tyre doesn't mind. No problem. Tyre only wanted to obtain some information. He did not really care about the rank of his mercenary license. Okay, please follow me then. Harriet stretched out his left hand, was about to guide Tyre somewhere else. However, Jack stayed behind, and said, Sir, I will settle the remuneration for the mission at the front desk first. After that I will come find you. Tyre nodded, as he thought to himself, it is quite amusing to see you report everything to me. Don't tell me you want to acknowledge me as your boss. Tyre shook his head and laughed, following Harriet into a small room not too far away. The room was very well furnished, and there was even a faint scent from the aged sky flower. Tyre realized that, whether in the Duke's mansion or here, people would always add some aged sky flower as decoration. Literal translation of the flower name equals W equals. Then, Sire Tyre, please start to register your license. Harriet lightly used his finger and tapped at the wall. Suddenly, the environment of the small room transformed. Tyre looked around. He seemed to be floating in the night sky. The stars dotted across the sky made this scene incomparably beautiful. This is a projection from the magic picture stone? Yes. Harriet nodded, thinking, isn't this obvious? Why do you need to ask such a simple question? It was as though Tyre had pointed to his clothes and asked, are these clothes? It was this sort of puzzling question. Okay then, Sir Tyre, let us start from the nickname of your mercenary license. Nickname? Sir, it seems that you really don't know. The nickname is your mercenary name, also what people will address you by. Why must we use this? Aren't our own names good enough? That, Sir Tyre, you have to know, there are many complications within the mercenary groups. There may be a time when you don't want to use your real name. In that case, your nickname will come in handy. So that means, even if you are a heinous wanted criminal, or an enemy spy, as long as you use your nickname in a mercenary division, you will still be treated as a companion and be provided services? Yes. Harriet glanced at Tyre in surprise, astonished at his sharp thinking. However, the opposite is also true. If your identity is exposed and reported, our mercenary division will also act accordingly to mete out punishment. But what you have said is indeed a good idea. The only problem is, even after you hide your identity, wouldn't your appearance still be found out? You don't have to worry about this. There is an illusion barrier installed in all of the mercenary divisions. Every registered mercenary will receive a misty black robe as concealment. Oh, I see. No wonder most of the people outside are wearing black robes. Okay then, sir, let us get down to business, and first register your nickname. Okay, then it'll be called Heavenly Sword's Heart and Soul. This was the most fearsome martial attack skill of Tyre's, and it was also his favorite. Thus he instantly chose this as his nickname. Sorry sir, this name has been taken. Harriet looked at the words that appeared in the sky, and shook his head apologetically. Tyre was shocked. Then, call me, Return of Heaven and Earth. Sorry, this name is unavailable. Then Fall of God. Sorry, this name is unavailable. The nicknames he chose are all the previous skill names that he learnt, hence the strange nicknames. Book 1, Chapter 27. Then, before I think of a unique nickname, Can I ask some questions? As long as it's not something confidential, Harriet will definitely give Sir an answer immediately. Harriet thumped his chest, making a guarantee. Avalon Academy, Sir Harriet should have heard of it, right? Yes, Avalon is a place where geniuses gather, and it is supported by both the Vermilion Empire and the Sicily Kingdom. Every year, there will be many gifted and wealthy youths who enter, but at the same time, there will also be countless geniuses leaving in dejection. I see. What I want to find out is whether the Avalon Academy contains a holy device that can awaken one's memories. This Harriet furrowed his brows, and thought for a long while without answering. He tapped a few times at the void, seeming to be inquiring something, then turning around and shook his head at Tyre. Sir Tyre, I deeply apologize. The investigation of sacred weapons are classified as Grade 3 secrets. As a junior mercenary, you are currently unable to obtain this level of information. Oh? Does this mean that if my mercenary level increases, I will still have the chance to obtain this information? Yes, the basic levels of mercenaries are junior, intermediate and advanced. After that is the iron level, military level, national level, and the legendary level. Third-level secrets require one to be recognized as an iron-level mercenary. Only then will our mercenary division be able to disclose the information. This system sure is troublesome. Even those who just want to register a mercenary license for convenience's sake will have no choice but to raise their levels for the required information and be stuck in this never-ending cycle. Harriet could only smile apologetically at Tyre's self-mocking sentence, as he thought to himself, "Sir, aren't you a little too straightforward? However, I guess I can only face this straight on." Sir Harriet, do you have any methods to quickly raise the mercenary level? Sir, how fast do you want it to be? Very fast, as fast as a griffin soaring through the sky. That will be simple. The apocalyptic demon king in Area C of the Great Forest, if you can kill her, as well as to bring back her heart or her devil horn as evidence, I'm sure that Sir Tyre can raise your mercenary level, even faster than a griffin soaring through the skies. Sorry, I spoke too broadly just now. I indeed want it to be fast, but not at the expense of my life. And Sir Harriet, you should be able to have an estimate of my strength. Can you not be so devious to give me suggestions that make me speechless? Ha, my apologies, Sir Tyre. I indeed spoke too casually. How about this? Within the Meteor Mountain range of the Miliac Kingdom, there is an ogre cave. Due to new ogres occupying the cave after each round of extermination, this time, we have decided to directly target their boss instead. There is a 30,000 gold bounty on there, Ogre King, Memeda. I believe, if Sir was to defeat him, you will surely be able to become an advanced mercenary easily. After that, you can get an iron rank mercenary evaluation, and you will be done. Ogre King, Memeda? Such a strange name. Since we are going after their boss, I'm sure that the ogre infantry will not turn a blind eye to this, but I have no confidence in killing their leader amidst the chaotic battle. Tyre raised both of his hands, giving Harriet a look that implied, go and figure it out yourself. Actually, Tyre had met the ogres once in the Burial Forest. They were a gregarious species. Tyre had never fought with them before, but their slow movements were of no threat to him. Even if they were to really fight, with his bizarre, Tyre would not need to expend too much energy dealing with them. Of course, Harriet had long thought of a solution for Tyre, and immediately replied as he saw Tyre's look. There is no restriction to the number of people for this mission. However, Sir Tyre must take note. If you wish to use this mission to raise your rank to an advanced mercenary, the number of people in your group must not exceed 5. This is so troublesome. Then, I'll have to request Sir Harriet to help me find some reliable mercenaries later. Ha, Sir Tyre, despite your extraordinary skills, there is no hint of arrogance in your words. I really respect such a humble person like you. Don't worry, Harriet will definitely do my best in fulfilling Sir Tyre's request. I'll be extremely grateful. Then, how long do you think it will take to gather the members? I have some familiar advanced mercenaries in mind. I suppose, if they know that an expert of around the iron level is going to lead them in advancing levels, they will surely be honored. As for the time, I estimate that they will arrive in half a day. after I contact them with the sound transmission stone. Ah, that will be great. However, you don't need to rush. Look at me, I've only just came out of the burial forest. At least let me rest for a day before contacting them. Tyr did not want to drag his smelly body back to do some other sweaty labor. He wanted to have at least a good soak in the bath. Right now, half of his mind was focused on bathing. Harriet let out a laugh, giving an understanding look. After that, he seemed to have recalled something, and asked, "Sir Tyr, then have you thought of a nickname?" "You will be a real mercenary only after registering a nickname." "I've thought of it." Tyr loftily waved his hands and said, "Kaming." Since he wanted to have accomplishments within the mercenary groups, then he must have a formidable name. The name that was best suited was naturally the one who had taught him various martial arts and techniques, the Great Crab, Kaming. Sorry, this name is unavailable." Instantly, there was a look on Tyr's face that was almost as bad as having constipation. "I am really apologetic. After all, there are more than 900 billion mercenaries registered in the mercenary headquarters. It is very common for there to be repeated names." "Ah, it's okay, I'll just think of another one." Then how about 123? This name is indeed unique, but are you sure you want this as your nickname? Yeah, it's too dumb trying to think of a good name. Just 123 will be fine. It flows quite well. Book 1, Chapter 28. Previous chapter. Translator, Kuroneko. Proofreader, Neavon. Editor, Jerry DeBoers. Sorry for the slow updates recently, we are still settling down after finals week. Anyways, things might be speeding up soon. Enjoy. Jerry. Chapter 28. Magician Lunaria. Lunaria, cast a fireball for me. An elderly person sat in the middle of the magic hall of the Duke's mansion. This was a place that boosted the ability of magicians to cast magic, a truly marvelous place that gathered numerous sealing crystals from the Hall of Seals. A holy ground for growing magicians. At this moment, Lunaria stood in front of the elderly person. Fire. Whoosh. As if the appearance of a meteorite, a fireball of unimaginable heat appeared in Lunaria's hand, its size comparable to that of a small child. The old person clicked his tongue in astonishment and clapped his hands. Genius, truly a genius. Not only were you able to understand the concept and technique behind the fireball, but to also be able to boost its size to these proportions by relying on your Raging Flames physique. This fireball probably contains the power not less than some second-level magic. This all due to the great guidance from teacher Lao Jerry. Lunaria was very pleased with herself, but did not forget to flatter while she was at it. If it was anyone else trying to flatter Lao Jerry, he would probably ignore them, but if it was his genius disciple, then he was very pleased. And the more he looked at this little girl in front of him, the more he liked her. Excellent. Then today I will teach you lighting attribute spell Thundercut and light attribute spell healing. Yes. Lunaria became excited as soon as she heard Sir Lao Jerry mention those two spells. Putting Thundercut aside, the healing spell was something a magician must learn when adventuring. The even more advanced greater healing, or even holy healing, was not as convenient as healing due to their lengthy casting time. Lunaria spent the whole afternoon learning magic from Sir Lao Jerry. Even though Sir Lao Jerry was the housekeeper and he had a myriad of duties to finish, he still took time out to teach Lunaria. This showed the importance that he placed on Lunaria. However, Sir Lao Jerry also could not simply put the chores from the Duke aside, especially with the Duke's birthday approaching. So he had to rush off to do other stuff immediately after he finished teaching Lunaria. As Lunaria walked out of the magic hall, and she suddenly thought of Tyr, who was currently leisurely taking a bath. Such a pity. It seems the other part of me, Tyr, does not have the qualifications to learn magic. Not mentioning the fireball spell, he does not even have any affinity for the lightning attribute and light attribute. Lunaria sighed and shook her head. She thought that she could allow Tyr to learn both magic and martial arts, but things did not go according to her wishes. Learning both, right? Since Tyr can't learn magic, then why not let me, Lunaria, learn martial arts? After all, the martial arts were powerful and easy to learn, With Lunaria's talent and Tyre's personal experience, it should be very easy for her to learn it. Learning both magic and martial arts was uncommon in the Empire. Take for example the Duke's mansion. Only Loudjerry was such a person. Unfortunately, even after learning both I still can't go out and show off. Lunaria shook her head. She was like a caged bird. She could roam freely within the Duke's mansion but she could not fly away. Miss Lunaria? Lunaria wrinkled her brows, turning around to face the golden-haired man running towards her. A look of annoyance flashed across her face, before she smiled and said, "Isn't this young Master Claude? Did you come to find me for something?" What did I want to say? Claude scrambled to think of an answer to Lunaria's question. His face turned extremely red like a bright tomato. Lunaria wondered if she might burn her hand if she put her hand against his face. Apart from today, Lunaria had also discovered that every time Claude saw her, he would often frantically greet her. What is this? The most popular style of greeting in the Duke's mansion. Lunaria thought in ridicule. She suspected that the young master who had saved her seemed to be interested in her. Then, "Young Master Claude, if you don't have anything to say, I'll be going first." It is lunchtime soon. Young Master Claude should also go and eat first. Yes. Then, I'll leave first. As soon as he finished speaking, Claude quickly ran towards the fencing field at full speed. Lunaria shook her head, unable to figure out what exactly that fellow had come here for. 1 or 2 days was fine, but he had been like this for quite a few days in a row. Lunaria felt that he seemed to be here only to add more trouble. Never mind him. After all, he is still the Duke's grandson and he has done nothing wrong. I'll just leave him be. Walking out of the magic hall and past the enchantment hall was the exit of the magic area. The Duke's mansion was split into the 6 large regions: the magic area, martial arts area, collateral area, miscellaneous area, military area and the central area. There were all sorts of halls within the magic area. The main hall was the magic hall, followed by the enchantment hall, rune hall, holy hall, element hall, etc. At this moment, near the exit, there was a teenager with the same golden hair like Claude's, who was currently bidding farewell to a beautiful lady. Lunaria did not want to interrupt them and she could only wait near the entrance, until the lady reluctantly left after the golden-haired teenager had kissed her. Looking at the sight before her, Lunaria could only shake her head, agreeing with what the magic picture stone had said about moral degeneration. That little brat who was only 13 or 14 years old had already learned how to flirt and date. Although there was a rule in the past that one had to get married by the age of 14, that it was all feudal thinking. Now, everyone would at least wait till their 30s or 40s before even thinking about marriage. However, what made Lunaria dumbfounded was that, after the golden-haired teenager had sent the girl off, he actually heartlessly spat out a mouthful of saliva, and used his clean sleeves to wipe against his lips. This sight pissed off Lunaria badly. Even after you, little brat, stole the chicken, yet you still have the face to say that it doesn't taste good. TN, aka, for all the neats, forever people out there, like me, wouldn't it piss you off to see couples lovey-dovey, but then that brat still wasn't content with that girl? Damn. But it was just her opinion, and his action didn't concern Lunaria. She was not some romance guru, and even more so, she was not the type to let out an indignant roar in the face of immorality. She was just a passerby, and she could simply ignore what had happened. Calming her heart, Lunaria walked out from behind the golden-haired teenager, and swaggered past him. Just as she had walked past the teenager and was about to step out of the magic area, a cold shout came from the teenager behind her. Wait. Book 1, Chapter 29. Chapter 29. Follower. Wait. The blonde boy's cold voice sounded. This voice gave an entirely different impression from when he parted with the girl just then. Lunaria slightly raised her eyebrows towards this and turned around to look at the youth who was roughly the same height as her. Is something the matter? As expected, an expression of shock showed up on the youth's face. But to Lunaria's surprise, the other only stayed that way for a short moment before restoring his original gloomy look. He said, Are you the new disciple of Master Lao Jerry? Looks like news travels fast around here. I am, but surely this is not the reason you stopped me, right? The youth remained silent for a short while before opening his mouth to speak. You saw that, right? Nope. Lies. I can tell from your nonchalant attitude, the youth angrily said, thinking that he was being messed with. Lunaria waved her hands. Even if I did, what could possibly happen? I am the only young master of one of the branch families of a clan, and because my branch has fallen into desperate times, if I do not marry that woman, my branch will be sent away because of the lack of contribution and connections. And then? Did you not see that? I dislike that woman. If this piece of news were to be spread by the disciple of Master Lao Jerry, it will not be long before my family branch faces expulsion. The youth tightly curled his fists and stared furiously at the other. The youth did not care that the woman in front of him is so beautiful that the entire duchy knew of her. The unwillingness in his heart completely overshadowed his desire for beauty. So what you require is just for me to not talking about this? Previously I've obliged, but your attitude towards me deters me from wanting to keep this under wraps. No problem. If you let me bring you back to my clan leader who possesses strength at the magic instructor level can certainly wipe your memories about this matter. I've only just forgotten so many things and you want me to have amnesia again? This is not a matter that would make someone happy. Besides, do you really think you can take me with you? Lunaria extended her right hand and suddenly, an ginormous fireball appeared in midair, originally assuming that this big fireball would shock the youth in front of her, but from the other's calm eyes, Lunaria knew that she is probably not his match, so she simply sneered and calmly spoke. I do not expect to be able to defeat you with this fireball, but the noise of using magic in this magic-restricted area will definitely be enough to attract many supervisors that are present. I think when that happens, compared to you yourself receiving a little punishment, your situation would become a little more perilous. The youth who had looked at the fireball in Lunaria's hands with indifference suddenly had a blanched face. After all, he was still young, so how could he think of so many other implications? Looking again at Lunaria's pleased look, his heart continuously sank. Then what do you want? As long as you do not spread this around, I am willing to do anything for you, including dying. Then die right now. What? Why are you hesitating? Lunaria gave a sly smile. The devastatingly beautiful face only gave the youth the image of a demon. Because you still have not given me any guarantees that you will not spread this matter around, and you still have not said anything about how to keep my branch of the clan from falling. This little guy isn't big but still considers these many details. Lunaria looked at the youth with some surprise, and dissipated the scorching fireball in her hands, asking, what is your name, and what is that little girl's name? The sudden change caught the youth off guard and he stared blankly for a second before answering with some misgivings. Noah Hillier. The girl engaged to me is Sheila Hillier. Does this count as intermarriage? Noah seemed completely unable to comprehend the meaning of that, so he decided to remain silent until Lunaria announced her true thoughts. Relax, Tilda. I did not intend to gossip about this anyways, but since you wouldn't relent from the start, I decided to play with you for a bit. Emphasis. Since you seem to be in a tight spot, I will solemnly swear. Lunaria cleared her throat and said with a self-deemed serious tone, I, in the name of the Supreme Deity, give my oath, as long as Noah Hillier himself does not speak of this matter, then I, Lunaria, will guard the secret with a sealed mouth, or else face the wrath of the heavens. This was the oath to the Supreme Deity known by everyone on the continent, and as soon as the pledge to the Supreme Deity is made, a bond could be felt around the oath taker. This type of oath could even bind a sacred magician to keep his words. Noah stared at Lunaria in a daze. Not once did he imagine for her to give such an heavy oath to the Supreme Deity. He hurriedly said, Idiot, how can you give out a deity oath so casually like this? Even though an oath is very powerful, there are many loopholes. For example, if you say what happened today while dreaming and someone just happens to hear this, it will still count as a violation of the oath, and you will receive a very terrifying punishment. But the oath has already been taken, and even if I want to take it back I can't. Then that's that. I've spent enough time with you little kid. I am very busy, can you step aside now? After speaking, Lunaria ignored the panicked look on Noah's face and pushed the other off to the side, preparing to leave. Noah was definitely not a person who muddles through matters, and since it seemed that she was not going to give him any time to discuss this with himself, he gritted his teeth and said, "Since you've already committed to this degree, then how can I, a grand future family head, be outdone by a mere woman? I, Noah Hillier, descendant of the Hongsai clan branch family, swear in the name of the supreme deity. Before the branch family regains prosperity, I recognize Lunaria as my master and will obey all commands, be it life or death." Hey, Book 1, Chapter 30. Chapter 30, Burden. Are you crazy? It was now Lunaria's turn to be speechless, for a lack of better words, she said, who would acknowledge a master a few minutes after meeting. Are you going to follow me for life if your family never prospers? Yes, Noah said with a firm determination on his face. Since Noah had made up his mind, he was not going to waver. This was a quality that other teenagers lacked. I just don't want to owe you. What did you owe me? I don't get it. I don't get it. Why is there such a stubborn kid like you? Lunaria seemed slightly crazed as she scratched her head. Her beautiful hair was all messed up, which caused it to emanate a faint fragrant scent. Pondering for a while, Lunaria started to drag the teenager out of the area. Where are we going? To see Teacher Lao Jerry and see if he has any idea how to undo this oath. No. With a shove, Noah pushed Lunaria back and promptly took 2 steps back while saying, "You cannot go look for Sir Lao Jerry. If you do so, you will be violating the oath and will suffer punishment. I will also immediately commit suicide." Lunaria felt a chill run down her back. It was clearly spring, so why did it feel as if it was winter? Then, what you're saying is, in just less than half an hour, I've gotten another burden that I need to be responsible for, right? I'm not a burden. I am already at the intermediate level, Chi Harmony, martial art rank. In just a few months' time, I believe I can be a high-level, Chi Harmony, martial artist, and I'll even be able to defeat level 2 magic beasts. Noah exclaimed with pride. A 13-year-old at mid-level, Chi Harmony, was indeed not commonly seen. Noah is one of the talented youngsters in the Duke's mansion. This was why his family could still have a foothold within the mansion. Oh, so it's like this. Anyways, Lunaria had totally no idea what talent was. All she knew was that as Tyre, he could kill a level 1 magic beast after just half a day, a level 2 magic beast after 3 days, and after 5 days, he could already scare off a bunch of level 2 magic beasts, forcing them to run away with their tails between their legs. His power increased at such a fast rate that it could be visibly seen, so he had no concept of what talent was. However, this is the magic area. I think you've come to the wrong place. Sheila, she is a level 1 holy healing magic apprentice. So this is why, Lunaria realized, before continuing to scrutinize Noah once more. Just as the other party was starting to feel creeped out, she spoke. Ma, since we've already sworn the oath and are bound by it, we can naturally trust each other. Therefore, let's just mind our own business in future. What do you think? But Lunaria, I'm your first follower. How can I leave you? Noah's rigid thinking once more caused Lunaria to feel like cursing his mum. Flinging her sleeves and pointing at Noah, she said, "Kid, are you trying to annoy me? First complicating an originally simple issue, then now I ask you to pretend to be a stranger, yet you try to cozy up to me? What? Do you think that it will be easy to gain benefits as the follower of Sir Lao Jerry's disciple?" "Yes." Noah's straightforward answer caused Lunaria to almost choke on her breath. Red-faced, she gave him a deadly glare as if she wanted to rip him apart. You are such a bastard. Why is there such a devil like you?" "Then, Master Lunaria, where shall we go next?" "Your attitude changes so fast." "Don't call me master, and don't follow me." Lunaria was screaming for help in her heart. As she quickly walked towards the exit of the area, Noah faithfully followed behind her, looking just like a loyal guard. The central area was where the Duke lived in, along with some VIPs and some other higher-ups. After Lunaria had become Sir Lao Jerry's disciple, She was naturally considered to be a VIP as well. At this moment she was walking through the central area with no one blocking her way, with many servants greeting her respectfully. Lunaria had thought that Noah would not dare to enter the central area, but unbelievably, he actually followed her in without any hesitation. Furthermore, no one seemed to block his way. Perhaps those hidden sentries had thought that he was part of Lunaria's entourage. After all, there were many servants in the central area and Noah had openly walked in. He would probably not arouse the suspicion of the sentries. Not to mention, Noah was currently following Sir Loudjerry's disciple, Lunaria. Which person was tired of living and dared to provoke such a prominent figure? Ah, isn't this little sister Lunaria? I was just looking for you to have lunch together. The person was naturally Leah, who was extremely close with Lunaria. She was wearing a suit of soft armor today, and with her red hair flying in the wind, she looked extremely heroic. Sister Leah, I was thinking about having lunch together too. Then where shall we go to eat? Should I inform the servants that we're eating here at the central area, or at the trade street in the miscellaneous area? Leah eagerly walked over, but when she saw Noah, who was behind Lunaria, her eyebrows suddenly twitched. Little sister Lunaria, this is you. This is just as Lunaria was troubled with answering Lee's question. Noah made a standard knight bow, courteously replying, I am Master Lunaria's first follower. Noah Hillier. Oh, I must really congratulate you, Noah. Little sister Lunaria is a magician who is held in high regards. You will surely rise to prominence as you follow her. Leah did not hold back with her congratulations, but Lunaria was displeased. What congratulations? I do not acknowledge him. It's okay, little sister Lunaria. An aspiring magician cannot be lacking in followers. This is because magicians are physically weaker, and you will need followers who are warriors to protect you in close combat. Leah did not know that Lunaria had wholeheartedly refused to accept this absurd follower. Thus, when Leah was trying to enlighten her, Lunaria had only felt that it had become even harder to get rid of this burden.